Good evening and welcome to 5 News with me, Sian Williams.
And me, Tessa Chapman. Our headlines tonight: will the government's levelling up plans make an impact?
Transport, education, better housing and regeneration. Today we got details of the government's big plans to tackle regional inequality. They say for too long areas in the north of England and the Midlands have been overlooked. But is there enough money backing the policy?
You know, the people need levelling up. We're all in for a rocky road over the next few years. Prices, energy, I don't have to mention it. We all know, you know, people need levelling up too.
The big plans came on another tough day for the Prime Minister, with 2 more of his MPs going public with their calls for him to resign.
Huge damage has been done with the nation on a trust level. This is being watched internationally. So I've decided that we can't go on this way.
Also on the programme, Manchester United footballer Mason Greenwood has been released on bail after being arrested on suspicion of rape.
The green shoots of spring are now coming a month earlier than they used to, but it's not good news for wildlife. And we speak to the daughter of reggae legend Bob Marley about a new exhibition celebrating his life.
From across the UK, this is 5 News.
Hello. We've been hearing a lot about levelling up the UK by closing the gap between rich and poor areas. It was one of the government's big election promises, and today it revealed how it was going to do it. Better buses, faster internet and more powerful mayors are among the so-called missions, and an aim to shift both money and power into the hands of working people. But there's criticism that most of the policies only apply to parts of England and that the money isn't new. Let's go to Julian Drucker now, who joins us live from Wolverhampton. Julian, how have the plans been received there? Well, back in Westminster, the Prime Minister's troubles are far from over. More of his own MPs have publicly called for his resignation, and the ongoing police investigation into possible lockdown breaches gave his opponents plenty of ammunition in Prime Minister's questions. Here's our political editor, Andy Bell. Well, that's a good question. Andy's in Downing Street now. And Andy, while we've been on air, another Tory MP has gone on record saying the Prime Minister should resign. Tell us more. OK, Andy, thank you very much. And we're going to be talking more about those levelling up plans later on in the programme. At past, we're going to be hearing from the Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin. We want to know as well, what does levelling up mean to you, Tessa?
yes, Sian, we want to know what you think of the government's strategy. Is it enough? Has your area been overlooked for years, as Michael Gove said? If so, what do you think would help make a change for the better? I've got the 5 phone. WhatsApp us on 07555 500 501. That's the number. Tell us what you think. You can also contact us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and I'll read out some of your messages later. More headlines now. And a 30-year-old man has been jailed for life with a minimum of 40 years for the murders of his ex-partner and her 9-year-old son. Bethany Vincent and Darren Henson, who had autism, were stabbed to death at their Lincolnshire home in Louth last year. The judge said Daniel Bolton targeted Darren because of hatred motivated by the boy's autism. US President Joe Biden has deployed around 2,000 troops from Fort Bragg in North Carolina to Poland and Germany as Europe remains alert to a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine. In addition, roughly 1,000 American soldiers currently based in Germany are being sent to Romania. And the UK has recorded the highest number of COVID-related deaths in nearly a year. 534 people have died within 28 days of testing positive. That doesn't include figures from Scotland, but we should note that England recently started including Now, there's been a development in the case of a Manchester United footballer who's facing some very serious accusations. Mason Greenwood was arrested earlier this week following allegations of sexual assault. Danny Sinha is in the newsroom for us. Danny, can you tell us what the latest is?
Danny, thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
We have quite a shocking story coming up about the number of NHS workers being abused on the job.
Been bitten, been punched, been kicked, I've also had people cough over me, as many crews have. I've been spat at. And then
Horrible. One paramedic tells us he's been bitten, punched and hit. He says things are getting worse.
Plus, we might spend all winter praying for spring to arrive, but apparently flowers are now blooming a month earlier due to climate change. And it's bad news for birds and other wildlife.
And it really does feel mild for this time of year, doesn't it? Claire's going to be here too with a forecast for you.
Yes, even though we have 4 weeks until meteorological spring arrives, things are exceptionally mild at the moment, although all change over the next 24 hours. More details in a while.
We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back. At the start of the coronavirus pandemic, we took to our windows, streets and doorsteps in droves to show our appreciation for our health and care workers. Remember the clapping? But a new survey shows that abuse of those same workers is now on the rise. More than half of NHS staff said they'd seen an increase in both verbal and physical abuse from patients. Emily Wither has been hearing one paramedic's experience.
More headlines now, and 5 Insulate Britain protesters have been jailed. All 5 took part in protests on the M25 last year in breach of a court injunction. They were sentenced to between 24 and 42 days in prison. A further 11 activists were given suspended sentences. Whoopi Goldberg has been suspended from her role as presenter of US talk show The View for 2 weeks. It follows comments she made about the Holocaust, where she said it wasn't about race. Whoopi later apologised, but the network says her words were wrong and hurtful. And Simon Cowell has been pictured with his arm in a cast after reports he injured himself falling off an electric bike. A previous e-bike crash in the US in 2020 saw the Britain's Got Talent judge undergo surgery for a broken back. Now, it might seem strange to say this on the 2nd of February, but spring is in the air. New research has found that the UK's plants now flower about a month earlier than they did 300 years ago. Some early spring colour might be a welcome sight, but scientists warn it could actually be dangerous for our ecosystems. Layla Hayes reports now on the changing seasons.
You're saying our daffs are already, aren't they?
They are, I'm enjoying them.
Yeah, still to come. More on the government's levelling up plans.
They're converting camper vans and motorhomes at this business on Teesside. So what's their take on the wider change that's promised through levelling up?
Plus, we'll be getting the verdict from the Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin.
And we've got news about a big development in provision of medication for menopausal women.
Quick look at the weather now. See you in a sec.
Breathe easy and take on the day. Weather on Channel 5, sponsored by Sterimark Breathe Easy Daily Nasal Spray.
Hello there. A mild spell of weather is upon us at the moment, but it will all change through Thursday night. The Pyrenees will certainly turn colder as well. Bye-bye for now.
The activities forecast on Channel 5, sponsored by Sterimark Congestion Relief.
Hello, I'm Sian Williams.
And I'm Tessa Chapman. You're watching 5 News. Let's give you some headlines.
Another 3 of Boris Johnson's own MPs have publicly called for him to resign, and that brings the total number we know of to 13.
And the government's laid out its levelling up strategy with promises of better local transport, 5G internet and more powers for local authorities.
Well, Labour has called the government's levelling up strategy just more slogans. So what does it actually mean to the communities who are supposed to benefit from it? Let's go to Peter Lane in Stockton-on-Tees. What are people saying there, Peter? And we've been asking for your thoughts on those levelling up plans today. What's the 5 phone saying, Tessa?
I've got a real spread of views, Sian, from across the country. Let's start with Thomas from Sheffield. He says to actually level our country up, we need more funding for local transport. And he said we're talking about billions, not millions. Cities like Sheffield barely have the money to run their buses, let alone make services better. We can go to Neil from Axminster, that's East Devon. He says, my town has been run down for a long time. I really want better shops. Glenn on Facebook, he says, yet another empty, meaningless slogan to go with Plan B, get Brexit done, Plan A, build back better, we're all in it together. And then Philip on Twitter says it's a start, but we don't want regional mayors. This removes impartiality when they represent a political party. Interesting one there, Sian.
Very interesting, because we're going to talk to a regional mayor now. We're joined by former Labour MP, now Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin. Thanks very much for joining us. It's good of you to listen to all those comments from our viewers, and I don't know whether you heard the one from Stockton-on-Tees, but there was somebody there saying level up, rubbish, and we need billions, not millions, and we don't need any more regional mayors. I mean, what do you think of the government's levelling up strategy? OK, Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin, thank you.
A pleasure.
Let's bring you some other news now. And the Duchess of Cambridge has taken over some of her brother-in-law, Prince Harry's, former roles. Kate is now patron of the Rugby Football Union and the Rugby Football League, and just in time for the Six Nations. Kensington Palace said the appointments closely align with Her Royal Highness's long-standing passion for sport. It's the first of the Duke of Sussex's patronages to be reassigned. And the clash of the caterpillars has come to an end. Marks & Spencer has settled its copyright row with Aldi over accusations that their Cuthbert the Caterpillar cake copied M&S's Colin the Caterpillar. The details of the agreement are confidential. Glad they've got that settled. Phew. Now, the menopause used to be a taboo subject, but thankfully more conversations around it are helping women to get the treatment they need. Now, for the first time, some medications could be available over the counter without a prescription. Earlier, I spoke to menopause specialist Dr. Louise Newson, and I asked her to explain those treatments.
OK, we're going to take a short break now, but shortly we're going to be hearing from an inspiring young man who's been praised by the Duchess of Cambridge for his work helping young LGBT people. And
it's time to get up, stand up and get to this exhibition about this major icon. Can you guess who it is yet?
I've got an idea. We'll see you after the break.
welcome back. Time to pause now to look at our mental health and well-being in Mind Matters with Dr. Sian. And tonight we're hearing from an inspiring young man who's using his experiences to help others. Alexis Court is a podcast host and the author of Queer Up, a guide to LGBTQ+ love, life and mental health. He's also training as a psychotherapist and since the start of the pandemic has been volunteering for the mental health charity Shout on their tech support line. He's been praised by the Duchess of Cambridge for his work supporting young people. And when I spoke to him earlier, I asked him what motivated him to volunteer in the first place. Alexis Court speaking to me there, and the Shout tech service staffed by volunteers like Alexis is open 24/7. The number is 85258. It's on your screen now. If you'd like more information or perhaps you want to volunteer yourself, he says it's a great thing to do. Do it if you can. Visit their website. That's giveusashout.org.
Now, the legend of reggae, Bob Marley. He's a man who needs no introduction. He died over 40 years ago, but his music is still played and loved by millions around the world. Now fans can learn more about the man and his music in a new exhibition. Want to know more? Well, don't worry about a thing, because Three Little Birds told me Simon Viger has got you covered.
Wonderful, isn't it? At 36, I mean, what he achieved.
I know, what a legacy.
Astonishing. Just time for our high five today. Today it is one that Del Boy and Rodney will be proud of.
Take a look at this. Okay, you can see a lovely piece of crockery celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Take a closer look, you'll see they actually commemorate the Queen's Jubilee.
It really is just like a trotter scheme gone wrong. I love it. They're still on sale. All 10,800 plates, mugs and cups. Who knows, if you get your hands on one and you find the right buyer, this time next year, Rodney, you could be a millionaire.
You could. That's a lot to get rid of.
That is a lot to get rid of. Can you imagine being the person that did it? That's it for now. We'll see you again tomorrow at 5.
Claire has got the weather for you next. But thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Breathe easy and take on the day. Weather on Channel 5, sponsored by Sterimark Breathe Easy Daily Nasal Spray.